My name is Rich Schmidt. It is April 4th, 2017. We're here with Mo Ayoub. Is Ayoub correct?
Yes.
Okay. And Mo, we'll start you off with an easy one, which is why wine?
Because I like wine. As simple as that. I like food and wine, and really my passion for food started me on liking wine. In addition to winemaking, I'm a trained chef also. Went to cooking school in New York back in the mid-90s. Took a hiatus from engineering and cooked for about 3 years in another Italian restaurant named Galileo and in Washington DC. And over the years developed passion for wine also, working in the restaurant industry and cooking at home and so after doing 3 years of cooking, decided to go back to engineering to make some money, open a restaurant someday. I continue cooking part-time while I'm doing that. Then I decided to move to California with a job, an engineering job. So I moved to the Bay Area back in '97 and worked there till about '99, 2000 actually. Had an opportunity to come up on a business trip back in '99. Brought me to Oregon. I spent 3 months in a hotel in Tualatin here. And on my day off, I went out to explore wine country. And I met a lot of people in the wine business. Some of them are very well known. Like I met Josh Bergstrom and his wife, and Ashley and Aaron from Domaine Drouin. They're all working down the street here at the Ponzi Wine Bar back in the old days. And after I came back to San Jose after my 3 months hiatus here, and I came up and volunteered for Harvest back in '99. Helped Josh with his first harvest. And then when I came back down to San Jose for work, they asked me to move up here to transfer. They were going to transfer the division of the company I work for up here. And they asked me if I want to move, and they gave me a lot of incentive to move. I said, hell yeah. So I said, okay, I want to live in wine country. I like the area. And first place I looked at is this place.
Wow.
Actually, and I looked at another place, but this is the one I really, it went with a hunch more than anything else. I really like the property, the land, the view, the soil. And it took a lot of work. It wasn't as what you see right now.
Sure.
So in '01, Josh and Josh helped me plant the vineyard, and I moved here, fixed up the house, cleared the land, we planted the vineyard. And long story short, around 2004 was my first harvest after the third leaf basically. And I made my wine for the first 4 years at Bergstrom Winery, and from 2004 to 2007. And the wines were a hit from day one, starting with my '04, which was a great wine, still a great wine till now. Got really nice scores and everything. And in '07, after in '08, Josh decided he didn't want to do anybody's wine anymore, so I transferred to the Carlton Winemaker Studio. I started working with Robert Britton, and I was in the studio till 2011. I kind of, actually, I retract back a little bit. In 2010, I tore down my garage here and built a winery in its place. And so I made wine '09, '10, part of '11 I made it here and split my production to here in the studio. And starting in '12, I made all my wine here.
Wow.
So
quite a journey.
Yeah, I'm originally from Lebanon. I grew up in Lebanon, Beirut. I came here when I was 21. I came to school, ran away from the war, and all the fun stuff, and came to finish college here actually. I went to school in St. Louis at Washington University, studied engineering and computer science. I have a bachelor degree in computer science, bachelor degree in electrical engineering, and a master's degree in electrical engineering. And then I moved to the DC area after my first marriage. And that's where I, mid-90s, like I said, quit my job and moved to New York, went to cooking school there at the CIA.
So what made you decide to start going to cooking school in the first place?
Well, I wasn't too happy with what's going on with my job, and I went to a divorce back then. So let's call it early midlife crisis. And so I said I wanted to do something different. So that's why I ended up just saying,
sure,
let's do it. I tend to be impulsive sometimes and just do things without, which is actually worked out for my advantage, you know.
Kind of unusual for an engineer to be that way.
Well, so yeah, that's it in a nutshell. Starting as far as wine development, first 5 years until '08, I only made one wine from my estate vineyard. And '09, I started buying fruit from other vineyards and started making Chardonnay and a few single vineyard Pinots. I started making a blend called Memoirs, which is a blend of all the Pinot Noirs I make, which has old family pictures on the label. And I started a wine club also where I sell my wine.
Sure.
And I make some wines specific to my wine club. Some of them only 1 barrel, 24 cases, a couple of them actually. And that's it. Starting in 2012, I made a new wine called Mojo, which is a Cab Franc Pinot Noir blend, 50-50 blend. The Cab Franc came from Knights Valley in Sonoma, and the Pinot is from my estate vineyard. It's been a very popular wine. Once in a while, I make 100% Cab Franc from the same grapes. Only 2 barrels sometimes. That's it. I quit my job last July. I was commuting to the Bay Area for somewhere in the middle. Failed to mention that around 2005, I quit my job here, the job that moved me here.
Okay.
And got another job in the Bay Area. So on the premise, maybe I'll do it for a few years and then move back up here. 11 years later, I was still commuting. On the plane every week to San Jose. Just 5 days a week down there and come here on the weekend and do all the wine work and sell the wine and pay the bills and take care of the vineyard and everything else that goes around here until, I came to the point where I couldn't do it anymore. I had some health setbacks too that gave me a reality check. So last July I quit, and a successful career actually. And I'm doing this full time now, so.
Takes quite a passion to do that.
Yeah. What else? Oh, I planted a new vineyard 3 years ago, about a quarter mile that way on Overlook Drive. I leased the land. I put in 5 acres of Chardonnay and 3 acres of Chardonnay and 5 acres of Pinot. I put in 9 clones of Pinot and 4 clones of Chardonnay. I like variety. I'm the kind of winemaker that doesn't believe in single clone bottlings, because I believe the more the clones, the more complex the wine is, the more different flavor profiles you're gonna see. So the main source of grape for me right now are my estate vineyard here and the new vineyard which is called Anonimo. The owner wanted to call it Anonimo, but he wanted the word Mo in it. He's Italian, so Anonimo means anonymous in English. So it's a great site, actually. I had my first harvest from it last year, and amazing wines, actually. I'm very happy with it. So
when you started making wine and growing grapes, how did you go about learning your trade?
well, I learned from other people, and reading, practice, making wine. When I first, Josh actually made the wine at the beginning, and I learned from him, Robert, and just trying things. I believe winemaking is like cooking. You have to have a knack for it. You have to have a good palate. It's not all about chemistry, although chemistry is important. And it just knowing which barrels to use for your blend, what type of oak. I always experiment and learn and evolve, basically. And I believe you never stop learning, because if you stop learning, you never get anywhere. So basically, in a nutshell, I learn and evolve. That's my winemaking philosophy. I try things. I keep what I like. I don't keep what I don't like. Whether it's barrels, whether it's the type of wine, whether it's the yeast, whatever it is. So, and my other philosophy is I never put a wine in a bottle that I don't like, even it means dumping it down the drain, which I've done a few times, or sold it bulk. Luckily, it doesn't happen often, but I've done it, and so, and the key point for my wine making is balance and complexity. The wine got to be balanced. You cannot have too much alcohol, too much acid, too much tannins. And the complexity where, you taste the wine, it's gonna lingers on your palate, and you're gonna, more of the layering, you're gonna taste different layers in the wine, and a lot of complexity in the wine. And what else? I don't compromise on anything as far as winemaking. I buy the most expensive barrels money can buy, the most expensive bottles. The bottle's not gonna make a difference, but I think if the bottle looks good, I think it's the whole package at the end of the day.
Sure.
And same thing with the corks. This year I just started using TCA tested corks. So TCA free corks, they're very expensive. They add 15 cents a cork, but I think it's worth it. When somebody open your bottle, don't get disappointed. So
So you talked about having a good palate as a winemaker. Did you develop your palate while you were cooking before you started?
Yeah, I think I always had a good palate, as far as, and the cooking helps too, because it develops your palate. And, sometimes you're born with it, sometimes you're not. I'm lucky enough that I think I have a good palate. So
you've been a fairly small production winery so far. Do you plan to stay that way?
Yes, I have no plan. People ask me, actually, now that I quit my job, am I going to expand? I said, no way. Actually, if anything, I shrunk my production a little bit. My 2016 Pinot production is down about 15%. And Chardonnay went up probably 20%, but overall production went down about 300 cases. So I'm gonna stay under 2,000 cases a year, and I have no plan of expanding. So I want to focus on quality. I don't want to build an empire. and I'll sell the wines I'm comfortable with, and I try to keep the focus on quality, not quantity.
So how do you see the concept of terroir? What do you take that to mean in your wines?
Oh, it's very important. And if you taste my wine, you can taste I typically make 4 single vineyard Pinots. and there is a huge difference between them. And I usually, in addition to my estate vineyard, which has very distinctive terroir, and people drink the wine, recognize it immediately, I always produce silky, very aromatic Pinots. And versus I buy grapes from Britain Vineyard, for example, which is darker, great vineyard also, dark fruit, bright acid, great structure. Wine's gonna last really a long time. So if you taste the 4 different vineyards I make, they're very distinctive. And I like to seek vineyards that are distinctive in a good way, not just to be different. And the terroir on my estate vineyard here, I mean, it's amazing. I actually got lucky landing here, because even vineyards very close from here are very different than this. Mainly is the depth of the soil, the exposure, it's east facing, the shading around the vineyard, which keep things in check in hot years like we've been having recently. So you don't have overripe grapes. The grapes take their time to ripen. And it's very cool here in the afternoon, because in addition to the shading, you got a nice breeze that sweeps down the valley in here. So yeah, and I only buy, if I buy grapes, only buy grapes from vineyards I really like. If I try them once and I don't like them, I don't buy them again. So, and I probably pay per ton, pay most expensive fruit in the valley, basically. I'm not gonna mention who, but that's it. That's really my, basically it's what they say, let the vineyard speak for itself. I know it's cliche, but that's what I really believe in. And you can taste them on my wines. I mean, people recognize the vineyard. If people are familiar with the area and taste particular wine, they recognize that vineyard in my wine. It's the character of the vineyard is there. And although the other aspect of this thing, you know, you got the weather, throw you a different curve every year. But you know, even my estate vineyard, year to year, is different. It really reflects the season, the growing season, but there's certain signatures in the wine you can tell this is from this, like the silkiness of the wine, the aromas of the wine, certain flavors you can taste. Although the wine might taste very different, might be darker versus lighter, or a little bit more acid, a little bit more tannins, but certain characteristics of the wines are still there. You can taste them year to year.
So you talked a little bit about Robert Britton and Josh Bergstrom. Were there any other sort of mentors in the industry, or people you became close with while you were getting started?
Well, I'm not shy about asking questions, learning from other people. I mean, these are the 2 main people I worked with my short wine career. I mean, it's only been making wines since 2004. So, but you know, I read, I taste, and a lot of the learning I've done really lately I've done on my own since I started making my wine here at my winery. So a lot of experimentation and learning. So
on the flip side of that, now that you are establishing yourself in the industry, have you found yourself mentoring some of the new people in the industry? Yeah,
I mean, I find, which is flattering, I found a lot of people want to come and approach me, want to come and work here. And I do have had some great help throughout the years also. So yeah, I'm always willing. People ask me about how I do certain things, I always will answer them.
Sure. It's a nice industry for that.
Absolutely. Yeah, people are very helpful in the area, very, very nice actually.
So you talked a bit about your educational background earlier. I'm curious how you've seen your education sort of influence you in the industry.
Well, I tell you what, one thing engineering helped me with in the winery, all the broken equipment. I'm known to fix things. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, I mean, you own a winery, it's like, particularly last year, it seemed like everything was breaking down. Murphy's Law at its best, worst possible time. And, you know, I had a few emergencies. My educational background definitely helped, whether doing electrical work or fixing equipment or building something or whatever it is, or but measuring temperature and stuff like that, all these things, you know, it definitely, from a technical point, as far as the winemaking, yeah, again, it's all about how to use the equipment, how to use the computer, for example, things like that. But that's about it.
Did you ever consider, while you're in California and having to commute, did you ever consider doing wine in California instead of Oregon?
No, really, I like the area here. Besides, I couldn't afford it in California. It's just, I'm still paying debt still now. I spend, you know, all I've been forking money into this operation. I know it's a small operation, but you'll be surprised how expensive equipment are and buildings are. So although I have a small winery, a very small winery, I still have a lot of equipment, expensive equipment, the kind of equipment that big wineries have.
Sure.
I mean, it just really doesn't, whether you're 2,000 cases, you might compromise on certain things or the size of your press or whatever. But as far as destemmers, sorting tables, all the stuff, same equipment that big wineries have. And again, I don't compromise on anything as far as impacting the quality of the wine. So, yeah.
So where do you see the future of your winery going then? Where do you see it in the next 10, 15 years?
Well, like I said, I want to stay small. I want to stay where I am. Just continue making great wines and trying to improve the wines, continue improving the wines, and that's going to be my main focus. Try to enjoy life. I work too hard in my life. I've been working for almost 45 years, believe it or not. I'm only 57 now. I started working when I was 12. And most of the time work 2 jobs at a time. This is not the first one. When I was cooking and engineering, and I was winemaking and engineering, and before that I was going to school and working at my dad's grocery store when I was a kid. And just keep it small, focus on quality, and like I said, I don't want to build an empire. Just hoping, it's a very competitive business, and they just continue making good wine and improve on it.
Is there anything new you'd like to try? New variety or new style?
I mean, a good example, I started making a whole cluster 2 years ago. And, you know, I cannot tell you what I'm going to try to make in 5 years, but I tell you what I've tried. Like a couple of examples, I made the Mojo, which is the Cafron Pinot. And a couple of years ago, I started making, based on an experiment I'd done in 2012, I started making 100% whole cluster. And I did it as an experiment from my estate vineyard here. And I liked it so much, I decided to bottle it separately, create another label, which I didn't need. So that's been added to, it's been a very popular wine. My 14 sold out in 6 months. And my 15 is delicious too. And so another variety I tried last year is Syrah. I made a couple barrels from Britain Vineyard because I like the Syrah from that vineyard. And what else would I try in the future? I don't know. We'll see. I'm Might do a reserve Chardonnay for but that's the same variety. But I continuously try. I like to make, well, we're trying to have a joint venture with a few other wineries. We're trying to make some bubbles.
Oh, really?
So, but that will not be released. Only 50 cases. That will not be released for another 3 years, maybe more. And yeah, that's it. I don't know what will the future bring, but so far this is where I'm heading.
What advice would you give someone who was looking to get into the Oregon wine industry?
Know what you're getting into. And wine in general. I mean, doesn't have to be Oregon or California. And you have to know what you're doing, for sure. Definitely know what you're doing. Know what you're getting into, because if you don't do it right, it's a very tough business to be in. It's very competitive as far as there's a lot of wines out there, you know. And if you don't make a good wine, or control your expenses or whatever, it's not gonna sell, or might sell it at a loss, or you might never make money. It takes us a while to, you know, I mean, the only reason I was comfortable quitting my job because I have an assistant winemaker, but I'm almost a one-man show for the longest time. And doing the sales, doing the tasting, doing the winemaking, you name it, I did it. The accounting, the payroll, all that stuff. But in a nutshell, do it right or don't do it. This is what I believe. And don't compromise on anything. If you don't like the wine, don't put it in a bottle. I don't believe in second chances in this business, because it's like you go to a restaurant, you have a bad meal. You might go back one more time, give it another try. Second time you have a bad meal, you never go back.
Right.
The same thing with wine. You have a wine one time, you don't like it, you might give them another chance, but after that you're not gonna go there. Right. You're not gonna buy the wine.
A lot of other choices out there.
Yep, absolutely. And you know, there's a lot of great wines out there, and you gotta stay ahead of the game, basically. Be innovative, figure out how to make your wine better. You know, be creative. So, I don't do any marketing. And when I first got into the business, I said, oh, make a good wine, it sells itself. They laughed at me. But the proof is true. And, you know, most of my business is word of mouth, based on, you know, I get some good press in magazine, whatever, ratings, whatever it is. That of course helps, but most of my business word of mouth. People taste my wine, tell other people. I don't do, like I said, I don't do any marketing. I don't do Facebook. I don't do any social media or any of that stuff, which maybe I should, but I don't have time for it.
And if the wine is selling, you still need to.
Yep.
So where do you see the future of the Oregon wine industry in general going?
I think it's a good future. Things are definitely getting better. The wine quality improving. There's a lot of interest I could see. A lot of people jumping aboard, whether it's from California or the French or whoever it is, or the investors. I see investors buying land and hoping the property value is going to increase, and I think they will. But there's a lot of wineries out there. Like I said, they got to be a lot of starting with new labels. I hear about a new label every day, which surprised me. It's like, where's that come from? And so, how many of them will survive? How much consolidation you're going to see? You know, we see some consolidation going on, and Will we ever become like Napa? I don't know. Maybe. So we'll see what happens. But I think we have, as a region, there's a lot of interest. I see it. There's people, even visitors. We've seen people never came here before. A lot of people never came here before. And I see, I hear, I mean, I can feel that there is a buzz about Oregon as the new wine area to discover. And so I see a bright future. Hopefully it'll be bright.
When I meant to ask you this earlier, when you first came up, was that your first time in Oregon? When you were first sent up here by your company?
Yes.
That was your first time here?
Yeah.
And so you felt the same way then? You kind of caught the buzz too?
Yeah, I mean, early on, back when I came here in '99, I mean, the area grew a lot since you're talking about 18 years ago.
Yeah.
So I saw big growth. Yeah. And I think probably vineyard land probably more than doubled since '99. I don't know, I have the exact figures. I know it's more than doubled.
The wineries have more than
yep, exactly. Yeah. So, and I jumped into it. You know, like I said, I tend to be impulsive and do things. What the hell? Let's do this. But you know, I believe if you work hard, do the right things, don't compromise on anything as far as quality, you're bound to succeed. Yeah.
Well, those are all the questions I have planned for you. Is there anything else you'd like to say? Anything I should have asked that I didn't?
Oh, I think I talked too much already.
No, this is perfect. Well, then we'll stop here. Thank you very much for your time. We really appreciate this.
Absolutely.